Hi, Alison Dorrant here from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Welcome to my channel. I provide all unedited videos and just what's inspiring me as an artist in the moment. I'm a full-time artist and I just can't wait to share where I am at today. So I am just going to take a peek at my 2024 Artist Almanac calendar, which unfortunately sold out so quickly because I know a lot of you were trying to figure out how to get this sweet little art calendar, Fodder calendar. And I recently learned that this is not part of Fodder school, and I'm slowly learning what the definition of fodder is. Collage fodder and sort of, beautiful papers and ephemera that people use for their mixed media art. I'd have to look up the exact definition of fodder, but I just wanted to share my calendar. And because so many of you were asking about it and can't get it, I thought I would just go to today's date, which is March the 4th, or sorry, 5th. I'm a day behind. And I really was hoping that all of these contributing artists who provided this little calendar, that on each day there might be, their initials or just something in terms of like a map to really know who created this particular piece, this image. Just because if I flip through, I can definitely see, some commonalities between a few of the artists that I know, and I can recognize their style, but a lot of them I don't know. I just think this is a wonderful idea, so I really hope that they produce or publish more of these next year. And it's just like, I love how this is published. A lot of you know that I had published my art poetry for Insights and Inspiration oracle deck, or I call it an oracle deck because that's what's familiar to people, but really it's just a cohesive deck of images of my art in print that I felt would make a really great handheld deck, and words that I felt really resonated with my art and with myself. So after publishing this deck, and then getting this little calendar, I just thought this is such a neat way of also, especially collaborating with other artists and sharing, the art with the world in form of a calendar. So you have that daily inspiration. And I was really trying hard to keep this little calendar together and deciding how I wanted to use it. And I almost felt like it was so precious, but the pages have started to fall out. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to tear off the page for today. I feel like looking at this, I really am inspired by that gorgeous pink. And pink is a color I never thought I would incorporate into my art, but it has arrived in my art. It is there, and I wanted to show you some of the artwork that, well, I just wanted to talk to you about some of my art that's already finished before we do art together today. The other idea I had for this little calendar page, it's a bit of a glossy finish. It would be great in collage, underneath layers, but it's so beautiful. I thought maybe I could just write on the back, almost journal my day and point form what went on in my day. I'm not much of a writer or a journaler, and I thought, well, that would be a really great way to be inspired by a beautiful image and have the date, have it, all in one size, and then, write on the back. So throughout the year, I could, go back and just be like, oh, okay, that was the day I had this appointment or this happened. So yeah, I am gonna just put this one aside and see if I can finish my train of thought of pinks. I am gonna show you some of my work that I have done because I thought it was time. I've done enough videos, and I know a lot of you know my watercolor style. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, so I have been painting mountains for, ever since I really started selling my work in 2020. And this is an example actually of a canvas print of my painting titled Blushing in Nature. I love that pink. This little calendar image just makes me think of some of the beautiful pinks in makeup, in blush and lipsticks. And although I don't wear lipstick, I feel like I like to have just those beautiful, bright, gorgeous hues and neutrals in my work. So this one I had titled, I think of blushing in nature, Mother Nature and the beauty of Mother Nature, and almost like when you see those beautiful sunsets, especially what we've been seeing in Alberta here recently, we have these pink, red, orange sunsets that are just stunning, and I think of it like Mother Nature almost blushing. And then this is just my train of thought with how I title my art. I was also taking apart, I had a lot of blush that I don't use anymore. I find I've gone to a lot of non-toxic, vegan, more environmentally friendly makeups, and I've really been sticking with a certain one. But long story short, at the time I had been painting this particular piece, I was crushing up little pigments of blush and putting it into my paints. And this piece was not done with the blush paint because this is watercolor. This was probably a Daniel Smith watercolor, which, if you don't know Daniel Smith watercolors, it's a sort of a professional grade, more expensive watercolor. And but at the time I was just thinking of how this piece reminded me of blushing in nature. I don't know if this just makes sense to me, but this is just my artist process. And my local printer, he's amazing. He's just one person. He makes these little certificates of authenticity. So if you don't know what a certificate of authenticity is, it's basically this is made of canvas material. So I really like the way he does it, because if someone orders, say, a fine art print, the certificate comes as a fine art print, like giclée material, or really, the other name is 100% cotton rag. This is canvas material. I slipped it's an old business card actually. And yeah, and I'm kind of going off as I always do in my videos. There's just so much inspiration that I love to share. But I thought I would just show you, the other thing I can say, this is a very affordable Michaels shadow box frame. And this was not easy to, there's a lot of frames that I had probably damaged, but the 8-inch square Studio Decor Michaels frame fit this little canvas so perfectly. And I can actually pop this out. Okay, no, it's in there really, really well, but you can just see the edge here, and how in order to frame this canvas very affordably, because it's pretty small, it's 8 inches square, I pushed down those little metal pieces that hold in the back of the frame, took everything off, and I just love it. I like that it's non-glass. If it falls off the wall, it's not going to break, and it's just a different way of finishing a canvas. So you really need a shadow box, which is like a deeper set. This was really perfect. I lucked out, but I had tried it with some 11 by 14 inch canvases and the exact same brand of 11 inch 11 inch by 14 inch frames, and I broke the frame. So it's a fine line between experimenting and trying not to waste, by just trying to find a cheaper way of doing something. But I do really love these. For a long time, I was selling my work in these little white frames. Framing is very expensive, especially framing canvases if you want it done in a way that's, professional look. So I thought I would just share blushing in nature, and also wanted to talk a little bit about my style, because recently I have been moving my YouTube videos from a watercolor focus, which for me is really easy. It's non-toxic. There's not much mess. It's accessible. It's, affordable for everybody. Acrylics are as well, but watercolor is just easy. And that's probably why I've learned to love the process of watercolor. But my videos, I've been wanting to just play around with acrylics, and I think I get bored in my own style. So it's all about taking what I consider my style to the next level. And I paint every day. So what I'm going to show you now is, this was again watercolor, and this piece is just gonna actually take you, oops. I titled this Filtering in the Light. If you were on my last video that I had published yesterday on YouTube, I was talking about how my son has to wear an eye patch for 2 hours a day to strengthen his weak eye, and how I named an entire collection after the process of vision and how we squint our eyes to see things better, how those little, the rods and cones, those little cells in our eyes, I'm not even probably saying the anatomy right anymore, but just there's so much intricacy with our vision and how we all see colors differently and how we see things. And I often talk about when I'm painting with you all, I need to squint when I'm getting closer to trying to find my composition. So I just wanted to show you. Now this is me trying to do a watercolor on canvas. I have done that before. You have to do an absorbent ground, like a watercolor gesso, to kind of be able to really do it well. It's still hard for me. This original piece was done on paper. And of course, this is a canvas print, a reproduction of the work. But I wanted to take that style of all this white space that I love so much. Excuse me, just gonna take a drink. So like if you look at some of my art poetry paintings, not all of them, but a lot of them, there's a lot of white space. There's a lot of mountains in here. So you can sort of see a bit of a theme with my paintings. I love this one actually. I need to remind myself I should really keep this card at my bedside every day. Keep it simple. I definitely overthink things and my brain is always going, but this has a lot of white space and I was like, how am I going to achieve that with acrylic paint? I did start to incorporate acrylic paint into my watercolors and collage, which is something I'm still exploring. I'm just going to put those aside, but this is just how I started to explore white space on canvas. So I gessoed my canvas, and this is pretty much all acrylic ink. So we're so lucky to have, at least I am here because I'm in the city, a really big city, and there's a lot of accessibility to some really wonderful local art stores as well. I mean, you can get pretty much anything online. I know some of you are very remote, so that's difficult, but there's something called an acrylic ink, which is a permanent fluid paint, which is wonderful. I love these. I use those. I've been exploring those on canvas in a way that feels like watercolor to me. So another one is this one here. This one is titled I See the Moon, which is also related to my son and the relationship I have with the universe. I feel that sounds so funny. I'm not even that spiritual, I would say, but like the moon is just so magnificent, and my son being the age he is, we have been learning a lot about the solar system, the planets, the moon, the sun, and I incorporate a lot of light and dark, shadows, those themes into my art. And so I'm not sure how I got off on this, but the title is I See the Moon, and my son and I will run outside in the evenings if we can see the moon, on these cold winter nights, and it's just like super special. And I think about, again, seeing through his patch when he's, when he's being silly, he moves the eye patch, and, yeah, anyway, so that collection, I plan to, back to the ink. So this is an example of just playing around with the ink. This is really brave because I know I have white paintings right here, but just like painting with the skewer, it takes a lot of practice. And acrylic paint, so this is a fluid acrylic paint. I mean, how wonderful that we can maybe access these now as watercolor as an alternative, even though it's like, it's plastic, it's probably a bit more toxic, it's permanent. So if you go over top of this with water, it shouldn't move. It possibly does, but it's not supposed to. So there, so it's just a really, really great option. So I am not a huge fan of this particular brand, so I'm not even gonna list it. It's just a cheaper brand, but I've had better luck with the Liquitex fluid acrylics. And so this painting was a lot of fluid acrylics, as well as this was my other one. This is called Patchwork Skies. We've been talking about collage a lot lately, and I'll let you just take a little peek at this. So this is mostly acrylic inks and ink and acrylic paint on canvas. And I always paint the edges of the canvas, and I tend to sign the edge of the canvas there. I don't have a moon in this one. And the brand that I prefer, this is fluid acrylic. So you shake them up and they are wonderful. You can mix them, they're vibrant, you can pour with them. They're just a bit messier, a bit more toxic. I find there are fumes that come off even though they don't smell like it. So I tend to use these with, you know, aeration if possible. And then the whole reason I got inspired, I mean, this collection inspires me so much. I had a really big, almost like a liquidation art show this past winter in Calgary. We have a local organized art group called Art Spot, and they're wonderful, and they bring in 200 local artists they rent out massive venues, and all of our work is either under $100, or I think this year they're going to have a show that's everything's under $200, and they do take a bit of a commission. But if you're prolific like me, so I had sold over 70 pieces, and I had taken probably over 100, maybe 105, 110. And if you think about, I mean, paintings on paper as well, but I am really, really prolific. So as much as I wanted to kind of keep this little collection together, I was going to put these canvases in the under 100, but I just think about the time and energy, and I know I could sell these for more. So I will probably enter them in the under 200 show and mark them for 200, no less. And I'll probably try, I think I listed these on my website for 250 Canadian, which is pretty much a steal because these are, I think, 12 inches square. Anyways, I had prepared to take these to the show, but I just decided I love them so much as well. I'm not ready to part with them because I find it hard to emulate this style. I had painted a little mini one. This one's not finished yet. I always sign before I finish, that's just my thing. But I had somebody reach out, they saw the finished mini, which was like this, at this size, and they were like, oh, I just have to have it, and would you pre-sell it? And I'm terrible with collections. I get so excited. I just cannot stick to launches and having this like 30 to 60 day lead up of a launch of a new collection. And I'm just already like onto something else. So I don't usually hold on to my work, but there's many reasons I held on to these, and I have a whole bunch of minis, I think 5 to 10 that I'm working on in this style, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I wanted to talk about how my style has evolved from, you know, I started with acrylic and then I found my love for watercolor. I feel like I found a style, my art poetry paintings, and I still love acrylic. So I want to find myself within acrylic painting now, or like a hybrid. So I'm just going to set those aside. So I thought we could start with, oh, I know, the other thing I wanted to show you is, so this is an example of watercolor. It's my original Sandy Beaches of the North Shore. this was inspired by my surfing trip to Hanalei Bay, which is North Shore, Kauai, and all of the tropical colors. And I think of it as like almost flying over in those little planes and seeing the beach and the water and the tropical energy. And this has both watercolor and acrylic in it. So this was really intuitive. It was fun to paint, and it's one of the few paintings where I've kept the original. As I'd mentioned, I have done hundreds of works on paper, both finished, both not. Many of them have sold. I've been so lucky, but this is one I just have kept in my living space because I almost want to incorporate more of it. I want to have it inspire me a little bit longer before I let it go. So that's mostly watercolor and acrylic. And then the other one I really loved, it has a tiny bit of a tear underneath here. The paper had torn. I called it Spring Buds, but you can see it just had a bit of a tear, which, to be honest, if somebody sold me a work and it fit nicely in a mat and it was the size they advertised, I'd be just fine, because I think it's really authentic. I love paper when it's torn. I love handmade papers. It just gives it a really different feel. I'm sure some of you are like, I hope she would stop moving this painting because I'm trying to look at it. So let's just put this here for a sec. And the style that I'm trying to find now when I do videos with you all, this is mostly acrylic paint. I don't think I used any watercolor in here. I didn't even use acrylic inks, but this painting makes me really happy. It's when I was taking some classes through Betty Krause art, and I just could not figure out, even though she's very clear on how she does everything. She's an incredible teacher. She shares all of her secrets and tips and tricks, but she has just this authentic touch of her own style, which is so amazing. And I'll never get mine when I emulate her. And I don't want that. I don't want to have paintings that are just like Betty's, but I know Betty's paintings make me happy. They bring me joy. They are wonderful. And I want to know how to incorporate that same energy, joy, and mark making into my own work. So this is sort of more my style when I was emulating Betty. I wish I could find her Fields of Flowers book, as I know I have it here somewhere. She has a really small, it's quite thin book called Fields of Flowers, and each page is inspirational, and it has a piece of her original work in print, and it's very inspiring. I just like to flip it open and, you know, look at the color palettes and the marks. It's really cool. So that's an example of colors I love. It just kind of happened. I think this background was created for me cleaning my brushes when I was working on another painting. So again, that's what I encourage you all to do, is not try and force like a painting, but just to experiment and explore and play. This one was a little bit more recent, and again, I wasn't, oh, I can see the washi tape. I should not have used washi tape, but that is learning, because I now know how to frame without using this Japanese washi tape. Okay, well, I'll just worry about that after, but you can just ignore that rainbow part at the end. This painting, it's called Back to My Roots, and it's sort of like I felt like I was getting back to my roots in the sense that I'm now painting with acrylic, and it was this watercolor painting that inspired this style. So you can just see there is a little bit of white space, not much, but the focus is really in this composition. And here there's that composition again that I think I really love in my work. Betty Krause, she will pretty much fill up her whole paper. She'll sometimes leave a border, but her mark making is each corner. And she does use resting space with certain colors and less mark making, but each corner has marks and color. So that's just, again, talking about artist styles. And then the other one I actually was taking these out of frames today, so I have to go back. My walls are empty. This one I did in, I think, 2019, and I had discovered this really cool, kind of what I call a reticulated pattern. You can just see, it's almost like that pattern you can achieve when you're smushing acrylic paint from one paper to the next. And I was taking a class, I believe, through Alina Hennessy, and she is probably the artist that got me into loving the moons. So loving the round moon next to really organic shapes. I was trying to do some kind of a flower and it's very abstract, but it works. I do really love this painting. This is another one that I think had torn. I'm just trying to see, maybe it didn't, but it's called Falling on Cotton. And the color palette is really unique. It's not something I would normally do. So I think I just stumbled on this piece and was able to learn how to pull it together just from practice. Okay. And what I think we'll do is maybe a little warm up. I also have this little book, this was a gift, How to Be More Tree, Essential Life Lessons for Perennial Happiness, illustrated by Annie Davidson. I'm just gonna pull up my chair and see if I can zoom you in without turning you off. We did it. And I'm gonna maybe bring you, okay, we'll just stay there for a second. So How to Be More Tree, and what I do, like with my oracle cards, I could just shuffle them. We'll shuffle I have not been pulling my oracle cards. I have not been doing playlist videos of them. As I said, I'm really bad. I get bored sometimes with what I'm doing, and then I'm not very good at following through. And I think that's the creative mind working. When I worked as a registered nurse for so many years in very fast-paced environments, it was just so different. It was so task-orientated, and you're constantly moving, and it's just so different. My brain, I think, has developed into like this creative how do you say, the mind when you're creative, it's just amazing. They say creativity is like a fountain that once you tap into it, it just keeps flowing. And I feel like that. I'm addicted to it. Okay, that was a terrible shuffle, but that's okay. Okay, so this painting, this has a lot of white space. This is my painting where I have said capture the moments and hold them close. And this was just a very easy, kind of intuitive, choosing colors I loved, putting them down, letting the watercolor move around. I could see a little girl with a bonnet that reminded me of myself, actually. My mom used to put me in bonnets. And it sort of makes me think about having children and having a child that's quite young and appreciating them on days when things are harder, or they're not feeling great, or there's temper tantrums or whatnot. Really capturing those moments and holding them close, because they go so fast, and I've really seen that. And so this is just a reminder, we all need to slow down and really appreciate the people in our life, and make time for them and practice kindness and really hold on to the moments. So replaying those good moments at the end of the day before you go to bed. If you've had a really hard day, like what were some of those really good moments that you want to remember? Because it's easy to replay some stuff that didn't go well or things that might be stressful. And I just think we all need that reminder. So that's my little inspiration from my art poetry deck cards. And then, yeah, How to Be More Tree. I haven't gone through this. I've just done a quick flip through, but I'm just going to kind of close my eyes and pick a page. And this particular page, page 71, I'll see if you guys can see it. You can't really see the words, I know. 1 minute it's June and a warm breeze is gently wafting through your branches. The next, the nights are drawing in and the threat of frost is in the air. Like trees, we need to develop ways of staying healthy in the most challenging times. Trees lose a lot of water through their leaves, which can't be replaced if the ground is frozen. Plus, big, fluttery foliage would be a nightmare in a winter storm. So broadleaf trees like the Chinese pistache. Oh, I didn't know that. So that's a Chinese pistache. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Chinese pistache or pistachie. They are trees that accept that they're not going to be photosynthesizing for a while and they dully ditch their leaves. No one said it can't do this in style. However, foliage of the Chinese pistache turns a show-stopping fiery red before it drops, ready for another winter. So that's just something that maybe I'll leave you with as we start doing some painting. I think, like, for me, my art is a lifestyle. I'm a full-time artist, but my artist style and how I paint, how often it changes with the seasons. I often paint larger acrylic works when it's warmer outside, so there's more ventilation. I find the winters, I want to have less pressure on myself, so I'll do more watercolor work. And, you know, I think of that saying, you know, with friendships, that you have a friendship for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And for me, my relationship with creativity and art is for a lifetime. So now it makes me so excited and emotional. Now that I have found art in my life, I want it for a lifetime. So, and I think of the change of the seasons, you know, and you have to give yourself grace and be patient with yourself because, you know, I didn't just like sit down and, I still find it hard to sit down and paint. I need to remind myself that I'm painting for myself and for no other purpose other than joy, relaxation, and just no pressures. I have I purposely steeped these little, I didn't, I have tea every morning. So I drink African red bush rooibos tea, which I love. And I had a caffeinated Earl Grey earlier today. And I had, instead of tossing the bags in the compost, I put them in here as to neutralize my paint water. So I'm gonna just really try not to drink out of this because this is now, I'm gonna use this for my watercolor video today. And I've never done this, so we'll see how it works. So I'm gonna set that aside. And so we'll do like a little watercolor warm up. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to acrylic painting today. We will see. It's still like -19 outside and I'm waiting for it to warm up before I can walk my little pup Oakley. And I recommend, you know, this is, I think, a fairly affordable watercolor paper. It's 98 pounds. I love to paint on 140 pounds, but this is great if you just need a more basic paper that you don't mind. It's a little bit thinner. I do recommend Canson mixed media or watercolor paper that's 140 pounds or higher. There's so many different papers out there, but weight matters. I don't care if you want to use, cheaper watercolors or paints. I feel that paper really, it matters, at least to me in my work. So if you can find one that's 140 pounds, all the better. And you can paint along with me. So I was cleaning off my brush here. That's that reticulated pattern with acrylic paint. And that would be another beautiful background, right? So I'm gonna slip that into my backgrounds, which I was hoping to maybe explore with you today. So I'm just gonna get out my 140 pound paper. And the reason I love this coil book. I'm just gonna do a quick flip through. Oh, it's upside down. Okay, so yeah, this is my relaxation practice, is painting these little botanicals with watercolor and then ink. And I really got into this when I didn't feel like sitting down and painting a full painting, but just really enjoying putting colors down, watching them move, and then after they dry, going back to them, say the next day when I have time. The reason I did not paint on both sides is so I can cut them out. And this was, I can't remember if I showed you this. This is a page I had done for my son. So we had just started painting these fish. He loves the angler fish with like the light on the front. So yeah, this is pretty cute. So we'll have to cut these up, but I think he's, like me, he's already moved on to something different. So this was a style of flower I just felt like exploring. So again, it's stuff, because it's 98-pound paper. If it was 98 pounds or lighter, so 90 pounds, it would be great for collage. So I can cut these out and then we can use them in our collage art. So again, just exploring colors and relaxing. This was pretty funny. We were trying to do owls, my son and I, so these aren't finished. Again, we were starting them. He wanted to do owls and then we moved on to something different. We moved on to back to the anglerfish, the puffer fish, and I was trying to learn birds. This is actually mine. This isn't my son's, even though it looks like it. I love neon. This was just another page where I was exploring more of a triangular kind of abstract floral. And I'm going to go back in with some pen work on the leaves and probably cut these out. We were practicing seals, which they don't have any eyes. I feel like I need to add in some little eyes here. And then we were doing jellyfish and turtles, which are not finished. Horses, which I really wish I could learn how to do horses. This was my first attempt at watercolor. And then what I do is I open to a new page of this. When I'm cleaning my brush, if you've been following along, you know that it sort of looks like this. So when my brush, I'm switching colors, sometimes I dip back into another color, but I often just randomly put marks all over my page, and then later I use this to collage into my art. So you can just see, again, this is a heavier paper, but this is what it looks like after cleaning my brush. Oh, and I had put a fish on here and I couldn't remember why, but because it's here, I keep running into this fish in my videos, and I want to show you a little technique. I don't know how well orange acrylic ink will work, but I'm going to grab another color. Okay. I said that I preferred Liquitex, but I have to admit the magenta in the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay ink is wonderful. This orange, I feel, it's not the best. Maybe it's just a bit of a dud. You know how you get a dud in every bulk package? You know, I actually bought this individually at the store, but this one's just, it's not great. I feel like the pigment doesn't come out that much. But I wanted to show you a technique that I really enjoy. So let's just see if I can bring you down. Whoops, bring you down a little bit. I'm really sidetracking today, but I think it's all still fun and inspiring. At least I'm having fun, so we'll just see how far we get. And I'm not going to use my watercolor brush because I want to keep it nice. I'm going to use a round brush, which is mixed media. You can see I have acrylic paint stuck in there. I buy several of these round brushes. They're number 10s by Princeton. And that is how I put on the India ink. And so it's a little bit hard to see, but in pencil, I put a fish on here. And let's just say, I see actually I have a little flower here. Let's just bring that out a little bit. And just for the purpose of this video, I want to show you something that I love in my work. Oh, there's so many options. So the first thing I want to share is like, I'm just going to actually put this directly on the watercolor paper. And I wet my watercolor, or sorry, my mixed media brush. And I just want to make this particular area orange. So this is acrylic paint going over top of watercolor, and see how the pink watercolor underneath, so this kind of purplish pink, you can just see how it changed color, and it is just this beautiful transparent layer, and it just makes this look so interesting. Whoops, oh, that was close. Almost lost it. Let's just do another drop of this gorgeous magenta. You can't really go wrong. It's very vibrant. And you can mix them, you know, you can mix several colors. You can almost drop it in like you would watercolor, which reminds me of another technique I really want to share. Okay. So that's just an example of using acrylic ink over top of watercolor. I may as well, I feel like just doing the rest of this with the rest on my brush. And I don't do it perfectly. You can outline it after with black and white. I like that effect. If I had green, I would put that in here. Let's just do that actually. We're gonna do it, we may as well do it right. So here's a Liquitex Phthalocyanine green, which is, for those of you who are interested in color theory, it's a blue shade. I can't explain color theory. I don't know anything about it really. I just paint really intuitively. So I put a drop of that green on my brush, and then I'm just gonna, oh, that's super, super pigmented. So a good quality acrylic ink, well, I mean paint in general, if it's good quality, it's very pigmented. And then even though I have no pencil mark here, I have so much color. I'm just gonna do that. And I also wanted to share, I don't know how this is gonna work on here. Well, while we're here, I mean, just like seeing if this is still wet, kind of wet. I mean, again, you can kind of blend. Oops. Now I'm probably just making a little bit of a mess. Oh, that was quite a bit. You're definitely going to be able to see this on camera. And I'm kind of putting a little bit too much on, and that's okay, but you just get the idea of how vibrant these inks are. And what I want to show you is up here, I could do the same and color in this fish, but instead I'm gonna, ooh, look at that color. I'm gonna go around it as though I am doing what some people call like a reductionistic method. I don't know if there's, it's just sort of a technique that some artists do. Whoops. Okay. And so we'll just see if we can kind of get in these fins a little bit. Oops. And if you think about it, like we've talked about in the last few videos, doing work on paper and, you know, abandoning works, whether it's on canvas, wood panel. What do you do when you want to go back to it, but you don't really know how to finish it or how to restart it, how to go over it? I love this technique where if, say, I have a background that's just really calling my name, I love the look of watercolor. This is just something you can do. What I like to do is, that's quite a bit of ink. And of course my paper, if it was 140 pounds, it wouldn't be buckling quite this much. I'm just gonna go around the face again. I like to bring out the image by taking a background that would otherwise be maybe abandoned. This was me cleaning off my brush with sort of the shape of the paintbrush, but just look at what we have, right? I don't want to overwork the flower there, but like, how beautiful is this already, and how easy is this? If you're not comfortable drawing, you can transfer an image. If you look up how to do an image transfer, there's so many great artists and videos. I think I've showed that in some of my videos briefly. There's ways of transferring images. You know, there's so many different things you can do, and you can get royalty-free images. So this guy was something I had transferred. I used transfer paper, and it's like really heavy carbon that you put down the carbon side. You can even do it without having carbon paper, but that's not the lesson today. But I was able to get this fish from the Biodiversity Heritage Library, which is royalty-free images that artists can use in their work, even if you're publishing your work, and it's really, really amazing. So if you're not comfortable with drawing, like, a fish seems basic, but I'm not that comfortable drawing fish. Yes, I can draw them very abstractly and fun, but if I'm selling my work, I want to have a fish that's maybe a little bit more, not realistic, but like, that looks more like a fish. I'm gonna clean off my brush because I don't want my acrylic fluid art, or sorry, my acrylic ink to settle too much into my brushes. Okay, so the brush is fairly clean. And while we're on this topic of carving out an image with acrylic ink over a background, so you can use these inks over dried acrylic paints, you can use it over watercolor, you can use them on canvas, I've used them on wood panel. I love these inks, and I want to share with you. I'm just going to bring you back up, so hold on. And I'm going to grab a painting that I have somebody coming to pick up after I embellish it. I'm just going to move some of this. I just want to show you. Okay, so this is a canvas print of one of my cows on canvas. It is really, really big, but I just wanted to share this with you before I have my client pick it up. It's not done. I embellished the moon by using really vibrant, beautiful gold paint. I put acrylic accents. I do the eyelashes. I bring out the eyes. This little bird over here is a royalty-free image from the Biodiversity Heritage Library. I love it because it has a very painterly, artsy feel, as though I drew it, but I didn't. I did draw the cow, and could I draw it exactly the same again? No, but I did this cow by taking this crazy acrylic background. So I'll just see if you can kind of get it in here. Just cleaning my brushes, playing around. This is all acrylic paint. And then on my canvas, it had similar colors. I took magenta Liquitex vibrant ink, and I put it all around, and you can just see I went in a little bit lighter, so I still have the orange and the pink acrylic paint. You can see I have etching in here. I have words written in here. I actually forget. I think that says forgive. I guess I needed to forgive somebody, maybe myself, I don't know, but it says, I'm pretty sure I wrote forgive. I wrote down here, I see the word B, B-E. Right here, B-E. I don't know what that says. Isn't that funny? I know I have different words in my art, but it's kind of cool. Oh, right here, that looks like hope. H-O-P-E. It's funny, I never looked at this until now, and I remember painting that and putting it into print reproduction, but right now I'm realizing, oh, it was that painting that I had etched into. So anyway, I just thought I'd share this with you because this cow was, I wouldn't say it was easy to do, but the techniques are really easy when you get them down. So it's this technique of reductionistic painting, finding a way to carve out images so they come forth and you can see what's underneath. Ideally, you want the image to have either more contrast or less contrast than the background. So that's why this one works so well. When these are dry, I take black Posca pens, or say a black Sharpie, permanent black pen, crayon, whatever you have, outlining it, something dark, maybe even then going over with white, or, you know, just again, bringing it out, making it more painterly, more artsy. So that's just something I thought I would share while it's on my mind. And let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this was a cow that has gone wrong. I'm gonna paint over this. This is actually a giclée print, a cotton rag print that I had this idea I wanted to glue to a wood panel, and I'm not sure what I was thinking, but it's pretty cute. It just really looks too collage-y. I forget what happened here. I was trying to extend the cow with gesso to paint over it, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think I'm going to try and rip this off and redo it because this is wood panel, and this is a background of blue and turquoise inks. So what a neat way to finish wood panels with just this vibrant, almost watercolor effect background, and then an image on top. So many options, right? And oh, I happen to have, that's so funny. I have so much. I am crazy prolific. This panel, you can see down below all of my, I'm really bad, I just toss stuff on my little art mat when I'm done. This is magenta, and it's just how I started the canvas because I love this vibrant color. So now I'm gonna go back and do something over top, paint on it, but leave some of that peeking through. And this painting I have not finished. I thought I was finished, but I just feel like it's not quite pulled together. It was from a series called What Lies Beneath Radiates Beauty. My dad handcrafted this wood panel. It's round. Those aren't easy to make. And I used the acrylic ink as the beauty, peeking through the opaque, thick painted layers. And I really like a lot of this painting, but for myself, I just feel like I need to do something, maybe a redo, maybe put collage, I don't know, redo this part here. Groups of twos aren't ideal, so if I did maybe 3 white petals or marks, it just looks out of place to me. So I put this aside to go back to. I'm not sure how I got paint. Oh wow, I wonder how I got all that paint over here. I'm just gonna grab, I don't know, I'm gonna have to just probably sand that down and go back over it. Okay, I'm digressing. So we'll just get back to what we all came here for. Let me bring you back in. Okay, so get out some watercolor paper, get out some steeped tea, some paint brushes, and I just wanted to try something here. So the first thing I want to show you is a little technique with, feels weird dipping into my tea right now, so you can all see. Now you don't have acrylic inks, but this is just a quick demo I want to do. So right now I am painting with tea. And I'm putting quite a bit of water down. Okay, and okay, so I'm basically painting abstract flowers with tea. I'm gonna then drop in with the dropper some acrylic paint. Whoops. I think I put in a little bit too much ink, but let's just see. Maybe too much water. And I got that drop up there in the wrong area. And I think it's because normally my watercolor and this ink is just, okay. I really wanted to give you guys this cool effect, but it's not entirely working. So in order to paint with these inks, you can actually drop them into watercolor. And I'm just gonna kind of help it and have them blend and move into each other. I love that purple there, that's really cool. So this isn't quite what I wanted to, my experiment didn't work. It's almost like shock value. It's like this really, really neat technique with, let's just see here. It's this technique where you drop it in and it just is beautiful the way it flows into the water. And it's like you can do an instant painting almost if you have that design you like in watercolor. And you can see how much ink is here, right? So I can pull off some of that ink and just create some new marks with it. Again, make new backgrounds. And I like mixing the inks. So see if I can pick up some of the purple. And again, not to waste paint, get it off my brush and onto a new page. And then I also love dropping black in at this point. It's super, super wet here, so. So before I touch the black, I'm gonna really gently, if I want the yellow to run, I want it to run into the pink to turn almost more of an orange versus the green. And I don't want to overwork it, but that's that center point of the flower. And then this one, just gonna drag down and kind of help it. And then you can pull that back down, maybe changing the color of this one down here. This composition, it's not my favorite, but again, this is just play. And we're just essentially mixing paints until I'm concentrating because I forget what I was going to say. And maybe adding that green up here. I'm clouding my vision, just like in those collections I talk about. I'm sort of squinting my eyes. And then I feel like part of my process is to be brave and let go and, you know, maybe being brave with like black, super bold, and just, you can't always control it, which I really like, but you can also control it, if that makes sense. So if it's going like this one, I'm not exactly super content with that. Okay, I like that better now. And you can just see I'm dragging the ink through the other ink and creating different shapes of abstract botanicals and leaves. But I don't know about you, but adding that black just, it provides a contrast that's so interesting. And if you can create interest, something that excites you in your art, it will excite other people. So just squinting my eyes again. And I was not going to do a lesson on acrylic inks today, so this is so funny. I probably drive you all crazy because I'm like, okay, get out your watercolors, and then I end up doing this. But that's just, it's your choice to watch me, right? Everybody has a choice. I used to say that to my patients when I used to be a diabetes educator, and they would come into the physician office and they wouldn't really want to see me, the chronic disease nurse, because they knew probably they didn't want to hear what I had to say. Some of them would be so difficult and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I don't know how you're going to be able to help me. And, you know, and often their blood sugars are way out of control, their blood pressure, cholesterol, everything's way out of control. And they're sitting there with their arms crossed. And I'm like, well, you don't have to be here. Really, like, if you don't want to be here, you're welcome to go, and that's fine with me. Like, I don't want to force you. And often they're like, oh no, it's okay, I'm okay, let's just see where this goes. And then they end up staying. But it's like when you give somebody the option, right? I don't know what I'm talking about right now. Oh, voluntary. Watching is voluntary. So I kind of botched this area. I'm not really enjoying this area a whole lot. But the good thing is you can go back to it with white paint and make it the inside of a flower. That's what I would do. And if you have a skewer or something really sharp that won't cut the paper, you know, a barbecue skewer, you can move the ink that way and it's a pretty cool effect. Okay, so let's go back to the tea. Oh, but the tea, I did use the tea, right? I mean, okay, so we'll just let this dry, and I'll get another sheet of watercolor paper because this is crazy wet. Okay, and this is a background that I hadn't finished. This is more expensive, high quality watercolor paper, Arches, 140 pounds. And just for the ease of today, I'll paint on this. And let's just see, a minute, an hour, we're at an hour. What I wanted to do is just experiment. A lot of my work is brights next to neutrals, brights next to complementary colors. And so I'm just gonna activate, we'll just do like a watercolor warm-up. I plan to do a watercolor warm-up. We'll just see where that takes us. I'm gonna use my Kamarabi Mozart Japanese watercolor set. I've done swatch videos for you all in my other videos, and maybe one day I'll learn how to group videos. on YouTube because it can be hard to find. I'm just going to use a variety of, okay, just have all my watercolors, just all of them, because I get so excited. Okay, what I wanted to do is see if we could, I'm going to dip into, this is my Around the World palette from Ocean Paper. I love starting with brights. I'm just going to put down a color I love. So if you're following along with me, putting down a color that you just are craving. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my brush. So we'll just add a little pink to the top of these abstract stems, clean off our brush, and I'm going to dip into the tea, which seems so funny. I'm just going to see if the tea is a neutral and put that neutral just touching the bright color I chose. And it's not quite as dark as I had hoped. So I like it, but I think we can do better with our neutrals. So we'll set that aside. So when I paint, I think of, okay, I start with, you know, colors that I love, that I'm craving. I love this coral color. So I'm going to put that on, and I'm going to also repeat it up here. I am then going to maybe dip into a mustard, which is, again, it's a bright color. So I suppose I'm kind of like not sticking entirely to with a bright, adding a neutral. So neutrals are like, you know, whites. In this case, it would be opaque white because we're doing watercolor. It would be grays, blacks, browns, ochres. This color here is sort of a brownish, kind of a brownish color. And I'm just kind of like moving the colors around and not thinking too much about what I'm doing. I'm gonna dip into this, I don't know, it's like a brownish black or something. And I'm just putting it down. And right now I feel like I am kind of in my head because I'm thinking, oh, I really wanted to teach something a bit different, but I'll just go with what I'm doing because it's relaxing to me. Hopefully it's relaxing to you. So if you're doing watercolor with me, I just want you to think about, all I want you to think about is what color am I craving in the moment? And who cares what it looks like when you put it on the paper? Experiment with dropping color in. So if you have slightly higher quality watercolor paper, Canson will work, Canson XL, but it just won't hold the water as long as, say, a paper like I'm using, Arches. Whoops, that was a happy accident, which I just hit, I think, my phone, and I did drips. I actually was gonna dab the drips, but the drips are really nice. They look good. I probably couldn't do drips like that if I tried, so I'm gonna leave them in. But right now, I feel like the brights are fading. So instead of going back to the bright pink, I'm gonna dip into just more brights of a similar color and just drop it in. And I could repeat it down here, but I don't think I will. I think that would be too much. So when I'm seeing that something's fading and I want to bring it back, I drop it in. And I'm just gonna see if you can see how well you can see. So I'll try and stay in the camera angle here. That is so interesting how much it has, all these little veins, it's really bloomed out. And I immediately want to go into like, oops, that's a lot of neon pink, like a neon, and put that in there, and maybe a little bit down here. And wow, I've not seen, I'm just trying to think if that was from the tea or something. I've not quite seen it do that. Very interesting. And then I am going to, so I have my neutrals. I'm gonna go back to these, cleaning my brush. And these actually are quite cute. You could make artist trading cards, or like, I don't know, I get excited about stuff art related. I like how this is kind of like bloomed out, but I don't know if I like it blooming out everywhere. So I'm gonna go back and add in a little bit more of an orangey peach color and just drop it in here. Oops, and I did a lot of drips. That's okay. Because it's funny, I like the blooms, but I'm not really liking like how much is going in. It looks like an eye almost, but I'm just not a huge fan of that. I'm gonna drop in some more of this like lime green, maybe bringing that, just trying to think of what composition. I'll just bring this out and up. And I know I'm gonna dip into my white gouache. If you have like a white acrylic watered down paint, you can do that. So this is my gouache from Stoneground Paint Co, Saskatchewan company, and I'm gonna just put in, I like that, I'm gonna just put in white there. Oh, I know, it might have been because I had acrylic inks in the water I'm dipping into, so it might not have been my Rooibos Earl Grey mix. So, I don't know. This is becoming interesting. I'm going to go into maybe this color here, which I don't think is gouache. I think it's a watercolor that I have mixed in. So that would be like a neutral. And I'm just trying to surround the brights with neutrals. Does it look like I'm doing that? I don't know. It's hard to get feedback when it's just me here. I don't know if I like how I extended it over there. Just gonna add in more white down here. And I'm craving like a mustard, kind of a butter yellow, like a mustardy, buttery. Maybe put a little bit of it up there. And because I kind of moved that drip, I don't like it a whole lot there for my style, so I'm just gonna move it. And I'm just basically dropping in colors in an abstract way with color craving and just kind of going what I'm feeling in the moment. I'm gonna put in more of that watercolor, that lime color. And I know this is really hard to follow along with unless you're very free and you're just sort of listening more than trying to follow, just because I know I'm using like quite a variety of supplies, and that's hard. I'm using higher quality paper, which I know is not accessible to everybody, but at least you kind of get the gist of my style, how I paint, how I teach. And again, if it's not for you, you don't have to stay, because there's so many awesome videos out there. And that is how I learned, is just by indulging in so many videos. And I would listen to videos while I'm just cooking, or if I'm too tired at night to paint, I would just put on a video. I used to listen to podcasts in my car. I don't do that anymore. I feel like it's like distracted driving for me. I would like to, but the way my brain works, I just can't really truly focus on the road when I'm listening to a podcast. I'm adding metallics because I like metallics in my work. I don't mind that one bronze. I might turn that into a little star or something. I could drip this one down. Nothing else is super drippy except for that. So if I wanted to do a drip, it would probably drip from here to here. I can just dab that up a bit and decide. Usually I curve my paper, but it's on a block. So we'll just drip it down, and there we go. I feel like I'm grounding myself when I do that. I'm gonna bring you guys back up because I realize you can't see everything I'm doing. Okay. So I actually really like this painting better now. Where did I put my watercolor brush? Oh, there it is. So much for a warm-up with you guys, because I think I just tuned you out and really got into my own groove, which is what art is all about. But maybe I'll get better with time, like a fine wine. So I'll just keep doing these videos until I feel like I'm better. Or like I said, you just get inspired by it a little bit and it brings any kind of joy or inspiration to your day. It does for me, and that's why I do these as well. So cleaning off my brush. And I'm pretty happy with where this is at. So if you're new to my channel, you will look at this and be like, okay, well, how do you finish it? Because this is appealing to me. I love this, but it's not a completed painting for me. So I often sign up sideways on the drip. Sometimes I sign on the side. I often sign first because, like right now, if I had my signing pen, I know that this is drying, so I could at least sign where it's dry. I love to just sign before I'm finished. And yeah, I like that there's metallics. I like the white space. So I'm gonna go back in with Posca pens, wax and water soluble pencil crayons and crayons, and maybe collage. The possibilities are endless. I love the moons. I'm gonna add that gold moon into my work. So I'll probably put that up there. Sometimes I like to, you know, do things a bit differently and put it down here, find flowers. So I'm really excited to finish that piece. So I'll set that aside to let it dry. And then I really want to do acrylic painting today, but since I have my watercolors out, I'm just trying to figure out, maybe we can, I'll just see where we're at for time. I think I'm gonna sign off there for today. And I hope I've inspired you some way. I really appreciate you being here. This brings so much joy to my life and to my art practice. And I'll just say thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.